Hello team, hello everybody, happy Wednesday, hope you're well and kicking goals this week. I'm going to touch base with you tonight about some, exciting and very overdue reforms to do with off the plan purchases. And this really affects mostly our CBD markets. We do have a fair bit of off the plan in the more residential, rural kind of areas, but it's really not to the extent that it is in the cities. So it's some big changes that are coming. Over the last couple of years, we've all heard the really scary stories about how someone's gone and bought a unit in a high-rise building that hasn't been built yet, and then it was built, and instead of being a one-bedroom unit, it ends up being a studio or something like that, or it takes 2 years for their unit to be built, and in that time, the developer decides to get out of the contract and sell it to someone else because the price has come up. So we've all heard those stories about things that have gone horribly wrong in off-the-plan purchases, and generally they've all been the really high-rise off-the-plan properties that are in the cities. And just a little reminder that off the plan, what it generally means is that you're buying something that doesn't have its own title yet. So it's subject to its own title, issuing before settlement, and sometimes construction as well, which is in those really high rise. And those horror stories come along a lot about purchasers committing and buying to something, and they really didn't know as much what they were that they were buying. So they thought they were buying a one-bedroom unit on the 12th floor. They get there and we've seen all the photos. It ends up being a studio, or it's not set out the right way and they can't shut the door and the toilet and all those type of things. So there's been a lot of kind of reform that's been coming around there, and finally it is here. So from the 1st of December, there is some huge changes rolling out in regards to off the plan, and it's really going to give purchasers a lot more protection, and it's going to inject a lot more confidence into that market. And where we'll see it is really in the cities. So the big changes are really about disclosure. So there's some really serious rules around what the contracts have to have now. So purchasers can have a lot more confidence when they are buying in that off the plan, what it is that they're going to get in the long run. And I don't think that's unreasonable. I know that sounds really simple, that you should know what it is that you're getting, but for a long time, it's been very deceiving, and there's been a lot of purchases that have been caught out. So, if you are in Sydney, it is mostly Sydney that this happens and you are waiting until, the off the plan becomes a lot more attractive to you. It is from the 1st of December. So it's really around disclosure, the new legislation changes really, and simplicity. So, off the plan contracts can often be, 400 or 500 pages long. But there's a new document in there which summarizes it, and it makes it super simple. And a lot of the times, some of the really big, exciting off the plan developments, purchasers have to go in on a Saturday and they'll sign a contract and pay a deposit, and they have to go and get legal advice after they've signed. So another good thing is, off the plan contracts, your cooling off period will be extended from the normal 5 business days to 10 business days. So you got some time to get some legal advice before it all becomes unconditional and legally binding. There's a lot more rules too to stop developers and vendors basically doing the dodgy. It's really going to help you. One of the biggest things is your deposits have to be kept in a trust account. There was a lot of people in a development in Queensland that lost a lot of money. A lot of purchasers who paid deposits for off the plan. Those deposits were all released to the developers, and the developers used the money for other things. And then of course they went bust and the constructions were never finished. So there's been a lot of money lost, in Phoenix companies and things like that. And there's a lot of, I know that I'm giving a very general overview here, but it's more just to let you know that help is finally on the way. And it really can give you a lot more confidence that from the 1st of December, if you are looking to purchase off the plan, it's going to be a lot simpler for you. There's a lot more legislation in place to help purchasers and basically stop those developers that have been doing the wrong thing and really catching people out. You know, you only have to watch reruns of A Current Affair and things like that to see some of the horror stories. And this is really going to iron it out. It's probably quite overdue reforms, but I think that also goes to show that they wanted to make sure that they were going to try and get it right. So it's tried to capture a lot of different parts to make sure it's going to work. More than anything, it definitely is going to help the purchasers. So, you know, off the plan purchasers often are our first home buyers because it's kind of that market rate in Sydney. You know, they're trying to get into the high rise strata buildings because that's in their budget. So from the 1st of December, it will be a lot simpler for you. You'll have a lot more disclosure. You don't have to be as worried. You're not going to be as vulnerable and as at risk. Don't get me wrong, of course, there is still a lot of risk when you buy anything, and including off the plan. But the good news is that the government has listened to, you know, some of the big problems that we have seen with people losing their money, or, you know, we've all seen those episodes of A Current Affair and Today Tonight where people buy a high-rise, a property off the plan, and then they move in and, you know, it's the size of a shoebox, or it doesn't have a bedroom, or you know, I remember the one where they sat on the toilet and you can't actually shut the door when you're sitting on the toilet. So a lot more disclosure will be coming around that you have to know what it is you're buying before you actually sign. And yes, it kind of sounds like, how has it not been that way so far? But it hasn't been. So this will give you a lot of protection. And for those of you that, you know, do often sign off the plan contracts in Sydney when they're those super exciting projects that just launch one day and they're all gone on a sad day, your cooling off period will be extended to 10 business days. So it really gives you some time to make sure you get that legal advice as well. But my favorite change is really that the deposits must be kept in a trust account now. So the vendors and developers cannot get any of the purchasers' money until settlement has all gone through. There's a lot of people that have lost a lot of money over the years. So this is going to give a much needed really injection into the Sydney market. I don't think it's actually going to change any of the regional markets at all. Our off the plan is very different. It's often a lot of vacant land, and I kind of find that a lot of the disclosures already been done. There's not as much uncertainty. So it won't affect the regional markets as much, but it's just going to give that real confidence back into the Sydney market that are looking for those high-rise buildings. On the weekend, I was talking to a couple of practitioners and conveyancers that work for developers, and they, you know, would have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of off the plan contracts where they've been selling to purchasers, and you know, it's 1/10 of that because of everyone was waiting for these reforms and all the court cases with so much that has gone wrong. So it's an exciting time. It starts from the 1st of December. Of course, before you're going to buy any off the plan, really sit down with your conveyancer and your practitioner and have those conversations. But you can feel a lot more confident that you've got a lot more protection now, because for some people buying these off the plan, you know, strata complexes and things like that in the city, that's the only financial option that they have available to them because they can't afford the far larger developments. So it's good to know that you've got a lot more protection on the way, and you know, hopefully it'll actually stimulate a lot more of that area of the property market. I think it will. So that's exciting times coming. Obviously, I've just given you a very kind of broad, high-level overview of some of the changes. It is quite complex, but it's just about knowing help is on the way, it is coming, and there's a lot more protection for you. So if you are looking in the off-the-plan market, don't be so afraid. You have got opportunity to make sure that you have a chat to your conveyancer beforehand, and now you're going to have a lot more legislation to make sure you're not one of those people that ends up on Today Tonight. So that's it. Gang, that's it for me tonight. Just a little short one that I just want to touch base and let you know some exciting things that are happening in that space. I've been getting a lot of feedback about my online coaching course, which is launching very soon. If you haven't checked it out already, it's petastewart.coach. So petastewart.coach, C-O-A-C-H. And sometimes, as you know, with my videos, I will talk about those type of things, or I'll talk about conveyancing. And I'm getting more and more interest in those spaces. So if you would like some more conveyancing tips, let me know. And if you'd like some more coaching and business coaching tips, let me know as well. Just drop a bit in the comments. I'm always happy to do what you guys want. I love having the feedback. So that's it for me tonight, gang. I hope you're all well and that you stayed cool today. And I'll see you really soon.